Cheers. If you were to ask me a week ago whether the world needed another 5150 in a box style pedal, I would have said, nah fam, I think we're all good here. And that is coming from somebody who is known to be somewhat of a 5150 fan. So that's gotta tell you something, right? But that was if you asked me a week ago. If you ask me right now, I'd say there's room for one more. And that's because I just plugged into this for the first time. And it changed my mind. Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle and welcome to Belligerent Studios. What I do here is I take all sorts of awesome high gain related guitar equipment, I record it with a simple SM57 setup, and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into E standard thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes that took 3 hours to set up this probably not that great looking shot, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on the way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! Alright guys, so I'm gonna start off today's video with a phrase that I use quite a bit, and that's because it's very true. And that phrase is, I love my job. And that's because today we are checking out a pedal that I didn't really expect a whole lot from, and in turn, it actually ended up blowing me away and immediately becoming one of my favorite pedals that I've ever played. So, this is the UAFX Anti 1992 high gain amplifier in a box. Now, before I start gushing too much, I'm gonna tell you guys right off the bat, this is a sponsored video. Sweetwater have reached out and asked me to share this with you guys here on the channel. I am being paid to share this pedal with you guys, and I think that you should know that right up front because I'm gonna say a lot of really nice things about this pedal. Some not so nice, but mostly really nice things, and I want you guys to know that you're more than okay to take that with a grain of salt. But keep in mind, the nice things that I am saying are the things that popped up into my little brain head when I played this pedal. I literally just spit everywhere. And not anything that UAFX or Sweetwater has told me to say because that's not how I roll. But yeah, I genuinely am extremely impressed with this pedal. I've spent maybe an hour with it, just kind of getting to know the controls. That way I could kind of get through this video without looking like a total moron and kind of making it look like I know what I'm doing. But in all honesty, I'm kind of discovering this pedal with you guys here today for the first time. And there's actually a good reason for that. It's because I'm lazy. No, in all honesty, that's not the actual reason. The reason is because I don't use complicated pedals all that often. So I essentially wanted to kind of dive into this for the first time with you guys so you guys can see the user experience as if you were me checking it out for the first time and not really knowing how these complex pedals work. Because I actually know that a lot of you guys are like me and you prefer the hands-on, you prefer the analog methods of dialing things in. The digital stuff can sometimes get a little too in-depth. It can sometimes go over your head, much like myself. So sometimes I just prefer being able to get my grubby, disgusting hands on an actual physical dial. But I gotta say, after briefly kind of exploring this and the app, the accompanying app with the pedal, I'm all in on this pedal and the way that you use it. I am a big fan of this thing. This thing has a couple of really cool features too that I definitely have not seen in any other pedals, and we're gonna dive in and we're gonna start checking those out. So that intro clip that you guys heard, and for the beginning portion of this video, I am actually just going straight into an interface and I am listening back on a single studio monitor. We were using my Epiphone 1979 Les Paul Custom Adam Jones model with the Duncan distortion in the bridge. There's nothing else in the signal chain other than this pedal. So real quick, let's jump into the features of the Anti pedal by UAFX and see what this thing is packing. So at first glance, guys, the pedal looks pretty simple, right? We've got 3 different controls on the bottom, 3 on the top for our physical dials, and then we have 3 switches in the middle here, and everything is kind of laid out for you to be able to see what each individual control does. But what makes this thing cool is this actually has almost all of our controls here doubled up to have multiple different functions. So as you can see here on the bottom especially, there are some things in parentheses that if you switch this pedal over into the alt mode using this middle switch, that will actually get you into those controls. And you can change the overdrive settings because this does have a built-in overdrive, and we were using it at the beginning of this video because I'm a belligerent amateur and we boost everything to hide our terrible playing. But on the top here, you can see it controls resonance, and there is a built-in noise gate in this pedal, and it is very accurate, and you actually have a lot of control over that noise gate. But one thing that I kind of want to touch on real quick that I love about this pedal right off the bat is this has resonance and presence controls, which if you are like me, the resonance and presence on the 5150 are an integral part of that amp and how to dial it in. So anytime I get into a 5150 style model or pedal or preamp or anything like that, like if it's missing the resonance and presence controls, then you usually can't just get the actual 5150 essence out of whatever it is that you're using. So I was happy to see it on this pedal, and I'm even more happy to report that they function exactly as they do on the amp. Over here on these switches, you have your different cab emulations, and if you hook this pedal up to the actual UAFX app that comes with the pedal, they give you 3 more bonus cab simulations that we'll also check out here in a minute. Over here, we've got lead, crunch, and rhythm channels, but come on. This is Belligerent Studios, and we don't play weak people music, so sorry UAFX. You're not really getting your money's worth on this video, but you can take that up with Sweetwater because they reached out to me. So we're gonna stay on the lead channel here because we want this thing to do what a 5150 does best, and that is go brrr. Man, I spent a lot of time setting up these cameras and lights so I can look like an idiot in high definition. Those are the primary controls on the pedal. Let's also look at the routing though, because on the back here, we actually have some interesting routing. There's obviously a USB port because you can go in and you can update the firmware on this pedal. So if there are any updates that need to be done over time, that is how you will apply them. There's a pair button here, and that is how you pair it via Bluetooth with your phone or your iPad or whatever it is that you are connecting to this pedal. This also, though, one of the selling features of this thing, in my personal opinion, this has 4-cable method hookup, meaning that you can use the 4-cable method with any amplifier that has an effects loop, and you can essentially add this as an additional foot switchable 5150 channel to any amplifier that has an effects loop. So you can literally just insert a 5150 into pretty much any modern amplifier. That goes for clean amps, that goes for, you could put this into a dual rectifier and have a 5150 and a dual rectifier via a foot switch in one amp box, essentially, just by kicking this pedal on. Really cool feature, and in all honesty, I think it is definitely one of the selling points of this pedal. So let's go ahead, let's hook this back up. One thing I will say is if this pedal loses power, it takes a little while to boot back up. So if you do lose power in the middle of a gig, you might be up the creek without a paddle for a bit because it does take a little bit to boot up. So we are actually gonna dive into the app now, and I'm gonna show you the deep dive features that this thing has that make this a really cool pedal. And once we get done messing around in the app and playing some direct tones, I'm actually gonna take the pedal, I'm gonna hook it up to a Quilter power amp, and we're gonna play it through a 4x12 cab and basically see how well it does the 5150 thing
loud.
So jumping into the app, guys, you see here, we've got user presets. This is a whole preset page. I've got 3 different presets that I've been saving, and this is just be kind of like messing around, trying to get my tone out of the pedal, which honestly, 666 on the EQ controls, resonance at 1 o'clock, presence at 3 o'clock, basically exactly as I would set the amp up for most of the stuff that I do with the 5150, and it sounds exactly how I would expect a 5150 to sound, which is amazing. But not only do you get the ability to save a whole bunch of user presets and just be able to seamlessly switch between them via the app, but you also get a whole bunch of factory presets. You get artist presets. So we've got Diamond Rowe, we've got Jeff Loomis, Ryan Knight. I'm assuming that they'll probably update this, as this is kind of a pre-release version of the pedal in the app at the time that I'm filming this. And then you have a favorite page, so you can actually save your favorite presets to the favorite and access them quickly. What's amazing about this is if you play in some sort of like cover band or something like that, or you're on the road and you need to quickly access your settings without having to go in and dial in the pedal, you literally can just connect it to your phone or whatever device and then click your preset, and everything is set up exactly the way that you had it on that preset. If you're in a cover band, you can literally do different presets for different songs and just go through and between every song, click a different preset, and it automatically does all the controls exactly the way you want them. And for a pedal that has an analog form factor, I think that's a really, really cool feature, honestly. I think that's awesome. So real quick, let's check out an artist preset. Let's check out the Loomis Rhythm. That sounds awesome. Very, very 5150. It's got the Cocteau mid thing going on all day. Super mid forward, not a whole lot of low end. Let's go into Dime Heavy Rhythm. That's a hot tamale. So that's a ton of gain, and it's a little bit scooped out. Apparently I just kicked myself out of the software. One thing I am noticing about the software, guys, is it is kind of a pain in the butt to reconnect if anything happens to either the pedal or your phone. I usually have to completely close out of the app and open it back up, so it doesn't seem to be super seamless as far as disconnecting and reconnecting to the pedal. But I don't know if that's just because I'm on an early firmware version or what, just something that I am noticing. But yeah, let's go back into my preset, my Anti 3 preset here. Dude, yes. Oh, that sounds so good. All right, so let's go into the Edit tab. So on the Edit tab, bet you didn't think that they were gonna have not one, but 2 different overdrives built into this pedal, but they do. We've got a TS, which is a tube screamer, and we've got a TC, which is going to be a TC preamp style overdrive. Now that sounds real goofy. That's because I haven't actually set that one up yet, but because we are on the Alt, I can actually go in. So awesome, 2 different overdrives in 1 amplifier. We've got a bright switch, but I believe that this only applies to the crunch and rhythm channels, much like on the actual amplifier. So yeah, if we were to play weak people music, head on over to the crunch channel and forfeit our man card. There it is. There's our bright switch, but let's get back over to the lead channel before our friends find out that we were on the crunch channel. And let's go down into the noise gate. So you can actually turn the noise gate completely off if you want. Punch that baby back on. And not only do you have a threshold, but you've also got attack, release, attenuation, and hold controls for that noise gate. So you have a very high amount of control over the noise gate and how you want that noise gate to react. I can tell you honestly, noise gate is incredible. Do not feel the need for any sort of external noise gate whatsoever. This thing is working awesome. Input routing, high and low. If you guys are familiar with the 5150, there is a high input and there is a low input. So if we go into the low, so in case you actually want your crunch or your rhythm settings to be even lower gain, you can go into the low input, or if you use active pickups, you can put it on the low input as well. That way you have a little bit more of a dynamic feel to the pickups. Here's one of the coolest things in my opinion, the bias mode. We've got cool, we've got warm. We've got cool choke, we've got warm choke. So they have basically simulated installing a choke in the 5150, which was a popular mod for quite a long time. And that would basically just kind of ever so slightly tighten and stiffen up the amp a little bit, especially when you're really pushing a lot of volume. And you can tell there's an immediate difference right there between the cool or the choke and the no choke. But also another very, very popular modification on these amps for a long time was the bias mod. So people could actually bias the tubes up to their, intended spec from the manufacturer. The 5150 was designed and shipped from the factory with a cold bias on the power tubes because it introduced crossover distortion into the signal and is honestly a pretty integral part of the 5150 sound, in my personal opinion. But a lot of people wanted to warm the amp up and fatten it up via increasing the bias on the power tubes. So they have actually given you a simulation of that by being able to adjust the bias mode to warm. So as you can see, it kind of fattens up the tone a little bit and it thickens it up. It rolls some of those highs off just a tad, as if you were increasing the bias on the power tubes. It would have the same effect. Really, really cool stuff, UAFX. Like, I'm a big fan of that. But those are your fine-tuning controls in the edit portion of the app. So the app is actually pretty integral to the full functionality of this pedal. But yeah, man, there is a lot of cool stuff going on in this pedal. One of the things that I didn't touch on is the different cabinets that are in this pedal. So we've got a UK V30, a CA V30, and a white 75. So real quick, here are the differences between those three. So three very distinctly different sounds, but also because we're hooked up to the app, we get three more. And those three are a D65, very, very MIDI, a Super 80, and a Brown JB. I actually really like the sound of that impulse response there. This pedal is way too much fun, dude. It sounds so good. But also, on top of those, we can actually, boom, flip through all of them, and now we have no impulse response. And you know what that means. It's time to make this a true belligerent amateur playthrough. We're gonna pump this through a power amp and we're gonna play it through a cab and we're gonna get loud. Let's do it. All right, guys, so we now have the UAFX Anti pedal going into the Quilter Tone Block 202, right into the effects return is how we're gonna have this hooked up. So it's a very transparent power amp, and this is going to be going into my EVH 5150 Stealth Cab with the stock greenbacks in it. And also, just for comparison's sake, we actually have my original 5150 block letter going into the same cab. So I'm actually gonna play a riff on the block letter, and then I'm gonna switch it over to the Anti pedal into the Quilter into this cab and see basically like how close I was able to get them sound dialing them back and forth. So we are starting off with the 5150 block letter. I'm boosting it with a tube screamer, basically the same way I have the tube screamer set inside the pedal. Noise gate out in front of the amplifier too. The hiss that you're hearing is the standard 5150 preamp hiss that you have when you don't hook up a gate for cable method, and it sounds like this. Now the Anti pedal. That is insane. I don't know how close they're gonna sound back to back because there's a little bit of a delay on my end when switching between the amp and the pedal and the Quilter. But holy crap, dude, I was not expecting it to be that close. I really wasn't. You know, maybe it'll seem further apart on the playback, but sitting here in the room, that sounds incredible, especially after just sitting here listening to the amp. Usually when you compare a pedal to an amp or a modeler to an amp, it's like immediately noticeable when you go from the amplifier over to the pedal or whatever it is that's modeling. And here it wasn't. Like when I hit that first chord, I literally had to look and make sure that I was plugged in correctly because I couldn't believe that it was the pedal. Like that was insane. There are some subtle differences, like the mids may not be slightly as forward on the Anti. The presence maybe seems like it's a little bit bitier in the very top end. But I mean, those differences are subtle. Like I am blown away at how good that sounds, at how much it sounds like the amplifier. Dude, I'm sold. I am sold on this. This may be my new portable rig right here, the Quilter and the Anti pedal. That was insane. And the amazing part is everything is contained in the pedal. There's no external boost needed. There is no external noise gate needed. It is dead silent because we are on and we are loud in the room right now. Dude, nuts. If I had to change maybe one little thing, I would say let's go and pull the presence back. Guys, I am sold on this pedal. This thing is ridiculous. That sounds so good here in the room. Yeah, this thing is on sale today, guys. 400 bucks. Yes, the price tag is a bit high, but look at everything that you get. You get your tube screamer, you get your noise gate, you get your very, very accurate amplifier, all in one box. You get presets, you get all sorts of deep dive controls within the app. Most importantly, dude, going through a clean power amp, it sounds like the actual 5150 amplifier, and you now can put it in your gig bag and take it with you anywhere in the world, or you can record with it silently and have it sound exactly as it should. I'm sold on this thing, man. 399 bucks. Yeah, it's a bit high on the price tag, but I truly think it's worth it. So if you guys want to pick this up, Sweetwater affiliate link in the comments and in the description of this video. You guys hitting those affiliate links goes a long way in helping me be able to get cool stuff like this on the channel here for you guys. And as always, I want to know what you guys think about this pedal. What did you think about the tones that I was able to get out of this thing? What did you think about the features? Were there any cool features that stood out to you? Will you be buying this pedal, or will you be crying about it in the online forums? Let me know down below, and I'll be sure to meet you guys down there to talk about it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Thank you to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video. I'm gonna go play this thing some more. We'll see you next time. Bye!
You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.